The Soul King is one of the most mysterious figures within Bleach. He was first properly revealed to us in chapter 519 of the manga during the 1000-year Blood War arc. He has quite a striking appearance with his limbless body and his inability to speak. This hints at his dark past, which is later revealed to us within the pages of the Can't Fear Unworld light novels. We find out that the limbs and organs of the Soul King were removed by the ancestors of the 5 great noble families over 1,000,000 years ago. In today's video, I want to explain what had happened to the body parts of the original Soul King, which were dissected, and the specific role of these body parts within the story of Bleach, especially the 1000-year Blood War arc. I'll be explaining everything that there is to know about the body parts of the Soul King, including his heart Gerard Valkyrie, his left arm Pernida, his right arm Mimihagi, as well as the various different fragments of the Soul King which are located within the bodies of the Fullbringers. The Soul King's body parts are sentient beings which possess immense spiritual pressure, and they partake in some of the most major battles within the story. Be sure to stick around to the very end of this video, as I'll be examining the influence of the Soul King's fragments on the Fullbringers, as well as explaining how Michibane had come to possess the chain of fate of the Soul King. All of the information that I'll be deriving from this video will be sourced from the manga, as well as the various different Bleach light novels. So without further delay, here is my complete breakdown and analysis of each of the currently revealed body parts of the Soul King. Before the video begins, only 20% of the people who actually watch my content are subscribed to the channel. If you enjoy these videos, then subscribe and stick around for more content just like this. Now let's get back to the topic of the video. Within the 3rd volume of Can't Fear Unworld, there are 2 separate but lengthy expositions from both Tokinada and Ichibei about the past of the Soul King. Tokinada describes the Soul King as a sacrificial goat who possessed powers that were equal to those of a god. Ichibei explains to his soldiers that the 5 great noble families were powerful in their own right, though their combined might was still not comparable to the power of the Soul King. Nonetheless, this didn't prevent them from creating the 3 realms of the world of the living, Hueco Mundo, and the Soul Society by using the power of the Soul King as a linchpin. The Sunayashiro clan ancestor had doubts that the Soul King would agree to that plan. His primary fear was that the Soul King would one day escape the seal that they had created for him and thus annihilate them. It's for this reason that the Sunayashiro clan ancestor led the noble families in mutilating the Soul King by removing his heart and arms, clipping away his legs, and cutting out his internal organs. This mutilation meant that the Soul King became a figurehead who existed within an endless cycle of life and death. It is not clear how the Soul King's organs were disposed of. All we know is that the Soul King's left arm and heart both became Quincy, who ended up joining Yhwach's Sternritter, whilst the right arm of the Soul King had become a deity known as Mimihagi, which was worshipped within Rukongai. Mimihagi would eventually go on to inhabit the body of Ukitake, the captain of the 13th Division. The left arm of the Soul King was named Pernida, and the heart of the Soul King is Gerard. Now in this video, I want to begin my analysis by talking about the powers of Pernida, Mimihagi, and Gerard. I'll be talking about the polarizing fates of both Mimihagi and Pernida, and later I'll discuss how Michibane's immense strength can be linked to her wielding the chain of fate of the Soul King. And lastly, we'll go over why the fragments of the Soul King have such a huge impact upon the lives of the Fullbringers as revealed within the Can't Fear Unworld light novels. The left arm of the Soul King is Sternritter C, the compulsory Pernida. Pernida has been granted a position within Yhwach's elite guard, the Schutzstaffel, meaning that it is one of the top 4 members of the Sternritter. Its Schrift ability, the compulsory, allows it to control bodies and inanimate objects via nerve manipulation. In question 322 asked on Kubo's official fan club outside, one fan had asked Kubo about the Soul King and Pernida. The fan had wanted to know when Kubo had decided that the Soul King would remain limbless, and that they pointed out the fact that during the second invasion of the Quincy, Pernida was drawn with a normal left hand when he had gotten rid of Senjumaru's divine soldiers. The fan wondered that perhaps Pernida was never intended to be the left arm of the Soul King. Kubo did not answer the first part of the question, but he did respond to the second part by stating that he had originally intended for Pernida to be able to maintain an imperfect humanoid form, but gradually he would reveal his true form once he had gotten into the heat of battle and had lost control of himself. Kubo does say that this was just a concept that he had in his mind, which he may or may not have gone forward with, and this is why he had wanted to draw Pernida wearing a hood, tearing it apart when he had turned into a left hand. The true form of Pernida is revealed during its battle against Mayuri, which spans from chapters 637 to 643. Pernida's body is made up of a single left hand and a large eye in the center of it. In addition to this, there are multiple chains interlocking the fingers on Pernida's hand, and once these chains are broken, Pernida's body is elongated into an arm that is larger than a regular Shinigami. One of Pernida's most notable powers is its governance over progress or evolution. This makes sense as the left arm of the Soul King is stated to represent progress, and this is in contrast to Mimihagi, which represents stillness. Pernida also displays the ability to mimic speech as it evolves when its nerves infiltrate the bodies of its opponents. One of the coolest things that I love about Pernida is that when it fires its holy arrow, its nerves are actually connected to the arrows. In addition to this, Pernida is unaffected by the powers of Yhwach's Almighty, which is able to see into the future and alter it. So just as Pernida is unaffected, the Soul King and Mimihagi also cannot be seen within Yhwach's Almighty vision. Finally, Pernida is able to recreate itself when one finger is detached from its original body, as well as regenerate any part of its body that it loses. In chapter 656, Askin gives some exposition about the different Schutzstaffel members. He states that both Pernida and Gerard are Quincy who were never granted powers by Yhwach. Instead, they had their own powers from birth, and thus they are the only Quincy in the entirety of the Sternritter whose schrifts are simply names that were given to them by Yhwach instead of being direct powers that were bestowed upon them. Pernida's death is ultimately caused by it consuming Nemu, as Mayuri reveals that when it had eaten Nemu's pituitary gland, it would lead to Pernida experiencing accelerated regeneration. The right arm of the Soul King and the counterpart to Pernida is referred to as Mimihagi. Within chapter 616, Ukitake performs the Kamikake ritual that is supposed to release Mimihagi from his body in order to save the three realms from crumbling. It's here where we learn the past of Mimihagi and its purpose, as Ukitake states that when he was 3 years old, he had suffered from an illness within his lungs. His family decided instead of letting him die, they would take Ukitake to the shrine of Mimihagi. During Ukitake's flashback, Mimihagi appeared as a right arm with an eye in the back of its hand. Mimihagi was revered as a local deity within the district of Sakahone, which is the 76th district of Eastern Rukongai. It was rumored that Mimihagi was a fallen god who had descended from the heavens. Mimihagi would thus give blessings to those who offered it anything besides an eye. This caused Ukitake's parents to perform a ceremony that offered Ukitake's lungs in exchange for his life. Ever since that day, Mimihagi's power has been consuming Ukitake's lungs, and via the Kamikake ritual, that power eventually spread to the rest of his body. When we see Mimihagi ascending from Ukitake's body, it does not possess a physical body, but is instead made up entirely out of reishi. Mimihagi governs over stillness, and this is perfectly represented with it possessing Ukitake and stopping his illness from progressing. So it didn't cure him from his illness, but it just stopped it from getting worse. When Yhwach had tried to absorb the Soul King, Mimihagi appears to stop the three realms from collapsing by covering the corpse of the Soul King and holding it together. Mimihagi possesses the ability of precognitive immunity, as Yhwach notes that Mimihagi was able to escape from being seen by his Almighty. As the battle in the Soul King's palace continues, Mimihagi is able to defend itself from Yhwach's attacks. In chapter 618, Mimihagi is able to put up a shield of darkness which prevents Yhwach from killing it. Eventually, Mimihagi does end up being absorbed along with the Soul King after it tries to consume Yhwach. The anime has slightly altered events here, as Yhwach just absorbs the Soul King, but Mimihagi still appears to be around as it's releasing from Ukitake's body even at the end of Core 3. So I do think that Mimihagi will have a bit of an extra role to play within Core 4. Within the manga, when Mimihagi is absorbed by Yhwach, it is forcibly removed from Ukitake's body, thus killing him. And when it comes to Pernida and Mimihagi in the similarities between these two body parts of the Soul King, I do cover their similarities and differences in a separate video on the channel, where I explain how Mimihagi and Pernida both represent different aspects of the Quincy. Ichibe had explained within the light light novels that both Pernida and Mimihagi had followed their own distinctive paths. Whilst Mimihagi returned to the Soul King in order to protect the world, Pernida had decided to follow Yhwach, helping him to rid reality of the concept of death and thus returning it to the original primordial world. The next body part is Gerard Valkyrie, another member of Yhwach's Schutzstaffel, and he of course possesses the heart of the Soul King, and he is referred to as Sternritter M the Miracle. In chapter 668, Gerard states that a Schrift the Miracle grants him the power to give form to people's desires. The fears of the masses makes his indestructible body enormous, while the hopes of people creates his spirit weapon known as Hoffnung. Gerard is able to manipulate probability, and this allows him to utilize his Schrift in order to succeed in battle, even in the face of impossible odds, as he is literally empowered by any damage that is dealt to him. So in a way, he feeds on his opponent's fear of being unable to destroy him. Any physical wounds that he suffers are immediately converted into increases of size and strength. In his godly size form, Gerard is able to smash a tower with a simple backhanded movement, and he can repel any attacks from the Vizards and deflect any abilities from Byakuya Zanpakuto. Even if Gerard were to lose a limb as shown in chapter 667, he would simply be able to regrow a stronger one within seconds. On Kubo's official fan club outside, in question 475, a fan noticed that Gerard's Schrift M the Miracle holds the ability to strengthen the injured part of a body via gigantification. When Gerard was cut in half by Kinpachi's Bankai, something similar to a Quincy cross had come out of his head. The fan had assumed that this was Gerard's core. They had wondered that if this core was destroyed, then would Gerard have been defeated? Kubo answers that this Quincy cross inside the body of Gerard is actually his weak point, and if it had been destroyed, then Gerard would have been defeated. However, this could only have happened if Kinpachi was able to cut it. Gerard's Volstandig is called Authority of God, and this holy form is activated by forming a Quincy cross in the air with his blood. In this form, Gerard is able to use Hoffnung to fire powerful energy blasts from the tip of his blade that are able to destroy entire buildings. Towards the end of Gerard's battle against the Gotei 13 captains Byakuya, Hitsugaya, and Kinpachi, Gerard is able to regenerate even after being frozen by Hitsugaya and taking a hit from Byakuya's Bankai. In chapter 680, Gerard continues battling Byakuya and Hitsugaya when he is then suddenly hit by the light of Yhwach's Ashwanan. So moving on, one of the light novel exclusive characters is called Aura Michibane, and she is the host of the Soul King's Chain of Fate. This is also referred to as a Saketsu, and it is a vital organ that belongs to each and every soul, and it represents a weak point within the center of the chest where spiritual energy flows from. It's unclear how Aura came into possession of this organ of the Soul King, but my guess is that since she is a Fullbringer, she randomly had inherited this part of the Soul King's body during the cycle of reincarnation. As a Fullbringer, Aura Michibane is a human with the ability to freely draw on and manipulate the soul of physical objects. However, since she never developed any attachments, Aura is only able to use the basic Fullbring abilities. As a result of possessing the Soul King's Chain of Fate, Aura Michibane possesses incredible levels of spiritual pressure. She is able to fight with characters like Urahara and Ginjo. Urahara notes that Aura Michibane is similar to a Shinigami who is able to utilize Kido and Hakuda at the level of Sosuke Aizen. Following this, we have the Fragments of the Soul King, which are smaller pieces of the Soul King that possess immense power. Humans or souls can randomly inherit a fragment of the Soul King's deceased body prior to being born, and this is made possible during the cycle of reincarnation. Rangiku was in possession of a Soul King fragment, as well as the hybrid being Hikone, who was created with multiple Soul King fragments. These are incredibly powerful, as we had seen the hollow Ikomikidomawe be able to break the name curse of Ichibe by consuming a few fragments of the Soul King. It seems as though every Fullbringer has inherited a fragment of the Soul King before being born, and they are the source of their Fullbring powers. During Tokinada's battle against Ginjo Kugo within the light novels, Ginjo realizes that the Tsuneyashiro family used surveillance devices in order to track down Fullbringers, and they had killed them in order to gather the fragments of the Soul King within their body. In addition to this, the Tsuneyashiro clan noticed that Kakyo Kakyo was a woman who had held a part of the Soul King in the depths of her soul. It's revealed that the Tsuneyashiro family had been searching for people who had fragments of the Soul King in order to find out whether or not these fragments could be passed on to a child. This is why Kakyo was selected to marry Tokinada Tsuneyashiro, so that the family would monitor what would happen if the two of them had a child together. It was unfortunate that Kakyo was used as an experimental tool, but I think that it would have been interesting to find out whether or not if her child would have inherited these fragments of the Soul King. The most important question on the mind of every fan is whether or not if Kubo will reveal what had happened to the legs of the Soul King. Will we find out via the Hell Arc manga continuation? Does Kubo even have plans for these aspects of the Soul King's body to reappear within the story? It raises a lot of questions about the remaining body parts and organs of the Quincy, whether if they will be Quincy or Shinigami. Some fans have gone as far as to speculate that Orihime has inherited one of the Soul King's body parts because her abilities are so broken. As with a lot of the concepts that have been introduced within Bleach, Kubo has left us with so much room for speculation in regards to these missing parts of the Soul King. Hopefully, if Can't Be Your Own World is adapted into an anime version, and if we get some new details within Core 4 of the 1000 Year Blood War arc anime, we'll hopefully be learning more details about the Soul King, as the past of the Soul King has already been heavily teased across Cores 1 to 3. I'm fairly confident that Kubo is going to expand upon the lore and history of the Soul King, and we may well be learning more details about the other limbs of the Soul King during a Hell Arc manga continuation. I do hope that this video has helped you to better understand how the different limbs and organs of the Soul King function within the story, and we have now reached the point of the video where I want to hand over the discussion to all of you. What are your thoughts about Mimihagi, Pernida, Gerard, as well as Ora Michibane? Was there anything about the fragments of the Soul King that I've forgotten to mention? There are some fans who believe that Gremmy is in fact the brain of the Soul King, and I'd honestly love to know whether if all of you agree with that theory. So do continue the discussion in the comments. I have several other videos on the channel where I break down the lore and history of the Soul King, as well as in-depth comparisons of Mimihagi and Pernida, so definitely check out those videos after this one. And lastly, thank you for making it to the end of this video, and I cannot wait to see you in my next Bleach Explained video. A massive thank you goes out to all of my amazing Patreon supporters for helping to make this video possible. If you also want to support the channel and see your name in the end of my videos, then check out my Patreon, which has loads of perks like early video access and so much more. Thank you for sticking around till the end of the video, and whatever you contribute will mean a lot to me.